Hello, my fair friends. I'm Ruby Ruse. This is Baby Bunny, and welcome to Fairy Fortunes. Once again, I usually do record several videos at one time, so you may notice that I have a very subdued appearance. I do have a video that does kind of explain why I am more subdued, so I will have that link down below. I do hope you check it out. So today I do very much want to get back to work and put out some new videos for you. I had a very wonderful young woman send me several questions, and I really wanted to do more than just one of her questions because she was so patient waiting for me to record these videos for her. So this is once again for SMR. She asked another question, which if you're curious about it, I will have them linked down below. I'm so very honored when people do allow me to read for them on the channel. I think really any question is universal. I think that everyone has these struggles. Everyone has these ideas floating in their heads. So to be willing to allow your question to be viewed by others, I think is such a beautiful sentiment. And so I'm so very grateful to SMR for allowing me to share her questions and her experience with Fairy Fortunes with you here today. So let's get to it. The second question that SMR had sent to me was a very interesting question, and I really liked it. Her question was, how can I break out of bad habits and create a healthy routine? I really loved that idea. And as I was thinking about this question, because I look at questions and I think, would this be better served by a 3-card reading? Would this better be served by a 4-card reading? And I actually did create an alternate reading, I have a standard 4-card Fairy Fortune reading, but I also have an alternate reading that if you are interested in the Fairy Fortune system, I do actually have my cards for sale. So if you're interested, I will link that down below. So in the little white book that is included with the Fairy Fortune system, there is this alternate reading, and this alternate reading I am calling the elemental reading. And so I really was thinking about it. I've never done an elemental reading before on the channel, and this question about how can I break away from my bad habits and create a healthy routine for myself, I really thought lent very well to an elemental reading. So thank you so much, SMR, for allowing me to share your question on the channel, and I would really like to use this reading that I have never before used on the channel. So let's get to it. A show is acquisitio, a gluttonous aliquanto. The more she procures, the less she endures, the weight of her fate in escrow. A missio elfor is wise, her beauty and voice mesmerize. Desire she gives, a true love that lives, you'll find yourself lost in her eyes. Beware of the puka-puer, a shape-shifting beast who will dare. He offers a change, prophetic exchange. It's risk when you seek out his lair. The princess of fairy presumes the world permits only perfumes. Her present is charmed, her future unarmed. She never considers what looms. In this elemental reading, there are actually different traditions that have different types of elements. So in this particular reading, I am using the standard Western version of the elements. The first element in this particular version of the Western way is the first element is the element of air. The second element is the element of fire. The third element is the element of water. And the final element is the realm of earth. The first card representing the element of air. What air usually coincides to in the Western tradition is that air focuses on the mental aspects. Air is about knowledge. This is governed by the winds. This is the air that we breathe. This is the wind that blows. Air is energy. But it is aloof. It is insubstantial, whereas we get into water and earth that are very solid and very substantial. Air is effervescent. Air is a headsy concept. So this is, when we look at it in those terms, this is what you need to think about. These are some mental concepts that you might want to gear yourself towards in this question of how can I break out of these bad habits and create a healthy routine? So what are the mental aspects of that? And here we have Acquisitio the Alicanto. Now the Alicanto is a fairy creature that comes to us from the land of Chile. This is a bird spirit, and the story of this particular fairy creature is that they like to consume silver and gold. So acquisitio in the Latin language actually means gain. So usually that is a great thing. Everybody wants gain, right? Because it means abundance. However, there is a negative side to gain and that is very much reflected by the Alicanto. Because what happens to the Alicanto is if they find a tasty vein of gold or silver to eat, they often will gorge themselves until they can no longer fly, leaving themselves at risk for predation and capture. So that is something that you should look at in this quest for yourself. How can you break free of bad habits? So in that regard, think of things that you really enjoy doing, but might take to an extreme. For example, it's very, very easy to enjoy things like alcohol or recreational drugs. Now, in moderation, some of these things are not bad. Or for example, smoking. Smoking is a very common piece of enjoyment. Now, smoking can be very relaxing. There are many things that people like about smoking. However, what you might want to look at is, if you are a smoker, how many packs a day are you smoking? When are you smoking? So I'm not saying that you necessarily need to quit any of these extreme habits that you might have. Like, for instance, drinking. Unlike smoking, smoking has very few benefits. It is very relaxing. But for example, drinking alcohol actually does have some health benefits to it. I have a great book for you. It's called Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. It was conducted by Harvard University, did a study, and then the author actually published this study in his book, Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. So I will have a link for that book down below. They did find that actually alcohol has a lot of healthy, beneficial things. So look at some of your behaviors. So if you have a smoking habit, I'm not telling you to quit that habit, but you might want to keep a record of when you find yourself smoking and maybe analyze why you are smoking. Are you smoking? Do you come home from a busy day and you grab a beer or maybe a glass of wine and you fire up a cigarette, and that's like your time to relax and enjoy just being peaceful? In that regard, if that's the reason that you're smoking, maybe that's not something that you necessarily need to give up. But if you are constantly smoking or have another kind of behavior, For example, if you drink more than one alcoholic beverage a night, maybe consider why you're doing that. What is the reason that you're doing that? Are you doing it because your friends are encouraging you to do that? Are you doing that because you really enjoy the taste of that particular beverage? Or are you using that beverage to put you into a state of oblivion or to get rid of some pain that you don't want to acknowledge in a different way? So really, in the mental aspect, really start tracking some of your habits. Not to say, oh, I need to stop doing this, but really as a way to analyze, why am I doing these things? So to start looking at a healthy routine is maybe look at where you are now and decide if those are behaviors that you want to keep or if those are behaviors that you maybe want to change. But first, the first step definitely would be to track some of the things that you're doing. Another thing that I personally do is that I am obsessive about my finances. I love to track things. It's just like, it's nuts for me. I just get into it. I love it. But one of the things that I observed with tracking my money is that I started tracking how many times that I eat fast food. I've mentioned fast food on the channel a couple of different times, and the reality is that I know that fast food does not work on my fairy system. It just does not make me feel good. It makes me feel terrible. So what I found is I'm like, why am I spending money on this when I don't even like it? So it really put things in perspective. Once I realized how much money I was actually spending on an activity that I couldn't stand, it really helped me curtail that problem. Not because I was like, oh, that's so bad. I was like, you know, I don't like that, and look how often I do it. So things like that might be interesting for you. But here's the thing. Like I said, I'm obsessive about my finances. I think it's the funnest thing in the world. But if it's not something that's fun for you, it's just going to feel like a chore and you're not going to want to do it. I would experiment with tracking things. I would try, you know, using your cell phone to like jot little notes to yourself, or maybe if you prefer writing things down, get a little tiny notebook to jot things down for yourself. Experiment with different ways. Maybe you want to use a voice recorder to do things. You're going to have to experiment with things that feel good to you. But definitely you're going to need a period of analysis, is what I think, is how to help you move forward on this question. The second card in this elemental reading, of course, represents the element of fire. Fire can take on two different aspects. In geomancy, which is what the fairy fortune system is based on, fire represents the fire in the sky. It is the sun. It is the stars. So it is that energy that wakes us up in the morning and gets us going and fuels us and causes the trees to create oxygen and these kinds of things. Fire can also mean a forest fire. Fire can also be a very man-made element. And how that translates spiritually in the elemental system is that fire represents our will. So remember I said that you're going to have to have to make observations. First, where you need to start is figure out what you're doing first so that you can learn and identify things that you want to change about your life. But remember that I said if it's not fun for you, you're not going to want to do it. So will and fire are very much the question that you need to ask yourself is, what are you willing to do? Is we have Emissio the Alpha, which is interesting because I made mention that I wanted to do 2 readings for SMR because she was so patient with me, waiting for me to get back to her on her reading. So I wanted to do 2 of the questions that she sent to me at the very minimum. And actually this came up in her other reading, which I will have linked down below. And this came up, if I recall correctly, Emissio the Alpha came up under the position representing herself. So Emissio the Alpha is very much indicative of you. So I think that that is not an accident. I think that this card is very much saying the most important question that you have to ask yourself in regards to breaking these bad habits and creating a healthier lifestyle for yourself is, what are you willing to do? So the message of the Alcanto was very much, look at where there is potential that some of your habits may in fact be good for you, just because if you are in fact a smoker, that may not necessarily be a bad thing, even though there's not a lot of health benefits to smoking. But for you, there might be a benefit in some other area. But you have to be very careful that you're not overindulgent in these areas. So that's the message of the Alcanto in the mental aspect. But in the fire aspect, the most important question that you have to consider is, what are you willing to do? Another thing that I have is that I really, really love going to the gym. Now, a lot of people think I'm insane for this, but I have some friends at the gym who are even crazier than me. Like, we're like obsessed. So we love it. Not everybody does, okay? It's actually rare that people like going to the gym. SMR, if you hate the gym, it's not going to be a healthy habit for you. You're not going to be willing to do it. So really consider that. There are other ways to exercise. There are other ways to exercise. You could ride bikes with your children. You could go for adventure walks with your children. You could walk around the block with your children. You could do relay races with your children. You could enroll in a class. Here's another thing. A spark just happened here. Emisio the Alfar. These are the elves of Scandinavia. Elf is the modern pronunciation of the more ancient word elf. So these are artistic beings. So what comes to mind with me is, maybe you need an artistic endeavor. Maybe it's not about going to the gym for you. Maybe it's about taking a dance class. Maybe it's about a social aspect. Maybe it's a spin class where you're in a group and you get excited because there's music. Definitely you need to do something that has some kind of artistic element to it for you. So a healthy habit for you, definitely it's got to be something active, because with that fire element, I really think that in addition to what are you willing to do, you need to get active. You need to bring some heat into your life. You need to get that blood pumping and moving. So exercise is a big, big thing for you. I think that's really the element that I'm getting. But it's got to have some kind of artistic element to it. It's got to, it's either a dance class, I think, or it's a social aspect where there's like music playing and there's like activity, and it's got to be fun. So keep that in mind. So activity is very, very important. And don't get bogged down with going to the gym. There's just so many better ways to exercise out there. Biggest question though, what are you willing to do? The next card, this is your water card. Now, water in the spiritual sense represents the realm of emotion. So here's the emotions here for you. And here you have Puera the Puka. This is an emotional question for you, isn't it? It's not just about being healthy. It's about looking at some serious obstacles in your life, isn't it? We talked about in SMR's other question, for those of you who are just joining us, SMR, I really felt that she had been doing a lot of soul searching, and she's gotten to herself to this place where she's really a person of integrity, and she's really has assessed her strengths and weaknesses. But I think there's still some emotional work that you need to do. One of the best magical practitioners that I think that a person can list is actually from our own mundane world here, and they are called licensed clinical therapists. I think many magical and spiritual questions can be addressed with the use of someone that doesn't think they practice magic. So I think that on your journey towards establishing better routines for yourself, you might consider maybe checking in with a therapist. And there are so many wonderful, affordable options. Now, right now, if you're joining us in March of 2020, we are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic in the world. And it's a very scary time, and a lot of people are really struggling financially. But there are amazing options for therapy. There's a lot of great affordable options where you can connect with a therapist through email, through text message, FaceTime. So there's a lot of that. And also there are a lot of really great apps for your cell phone. I really have been enjoying the app Reflectly, and this is not a sponsored video, so this is just my own personal experiences. I really enjoy the app Reflectly, and I'll try to have a link down below for that app. It just is a way to kind of check in with yourself and connect with yourself. Another app that I've seen that I would like to try, but I have not, but it does look really interesting, and it has some of the same aspects of the Reflectly app that I really like, and that's called Youper. So I will have some links down there below. So in this time where financials are so tenuous and you know, we can't really do some therapy, there are these other options. So with those two applications that I've talked about, you are actually not connecting with an actual person. It is just a robot app that encourages you to look deeper in yourself and ask questions to yourself. So I want you to consider trying that. And the other thing that you can do is you probably need to start journaling. So to answer your question, what should I do? How can I break bad habits and form healthy routines? Well, going back to what I said with your first card with the Alicanto, you need to start tracking things. You need to start journaling. And yes, track things, like you need to say, okay, I smoked a cigarette. Why did I smoke a cigarette? I had more than one glass of beer. You know, why did I do that? What was the reason I do that? So I do want you to spend some time analyzing that, to look at where you might be overindulging. And also not just overindulging, but look at things that make you feel really good. Like for me, I love going to the gym. I just love it. It just makes my day whole better, you know, it's just awesome. So spend some time. If you find yourself in a moment of euphoria where you're like, God, life is awesome. Why? What made it awesome? But so it's important that you try and capture moments like that, like jot down little notes for yourself, but you might also find just writing about your day might be helpful. And once again, as I said, this is not a sponsored video, but I really enjoy the app Reflectly because it asks questions. It asks you some questions that gives you an opportunity to explore, and they can kind of come out of left field. So if you are hesitant to become a journal, because what are you willing to do? If you hate it, it's not going to work. But with this application that I'm talking about, it asks random questions that I think actually might be good for you and might get you in a different headspace. And also, like, we talked about how you probably need something creative as far as activities go. You do need something that is an exercise, a form of actual physical activity, but it needs to be something artistic like a dance class, or it needs to be something spunky like a spin class where it's social and there's music and that kind of thing. But ultimately, when it comes to the healthy habits, it's really going to come back to you. And because Puer the Puka, he is a being that comes to us from Irish mythology. This is a very solitary creature. And in fact, when Puer the Puka comes up, usually it means that you can't rely on other people, because other people might be offering help for nefarious reasons. So just be cautious about people that come out of the woodwork saying, oh, well, I know the perfect solution for you. Because you know what? It might not be the perfect solution for you. It might be a perfect solution for them. So a person may say, hey, I want to run this marathon and I think you should do it with me. And it might seem like a great idea at the time, but maybe they want you to run the marathon because they're trying to promote something. You know, they're trying to sell something to you by running that marathon. So just be cautious, is that this is really going to have to be something that you embark on your own. You're not really going to get a lot of help from outside sources. So just be aware of that. And last but not least, this is the element of earth. In the spiritual context of earth, earth is the process of manifestation. So this is where we take the idea phase. So here you're collecting information. Here you're deciding what's fun and what you're willing to do. Here you're looking at the emotional aspects. But this is all planning. Magic is not what you believe. A lot of people say that, oh, magic is what you believe. Nope, I'm sorry. Magic is not what you believe. Magic is what you do. Magic is the manifestation. So these are great, and this is a process worth doing, but you have to come up with something tangible at the end. So it's not magic until there is a manifestation of it. So that's the spiritual message. So what do you have here? Here you have the Fairy Princess. My dear, this is a really wonderful card. This is a wonderful card. This is one of the best cards in the whole Fairy Fortune system. This is the Fairy Princess. The only card that is above the Fairy Princess, I'm sure you're shocked, is the Fairy Queen. The Fairy Princess, the message surrounding the Fairy Princess is success. It's success. You are going to be successful. You are going to accomplish your goal of establishing healthy routines. You are. But here's the thing. She's not done yet. She's not done growing yet. So what does that mean for you? Put some plans into action. Sign up for that dance class, okay? Download that app and start using Reflectly or Uber. And do it. Manifest it. and use it and try it out. But you know what? A year from now, you may not need Reflectly anymore. You may not want to do the dance class anymore. And you know what? That's okay. Because healthy routines are a process that continue to grow as we grow. It's an experience of life. So what I want you to do is celebrate your successes. And it goes kind of back to the message of the Alicanto. Smoking, yes, it is a bad habit. There's not a lot of health benefits there are no health benefits to smoking, there just aren't. Physically speaking, there are no health benefits to smoking, but you know what? There may be mental benefits to smoking. So let's say you decide, okay, you know what? I'm not going to give up smoking. I'm just using smoking. I don't know if SMR smokes or not. I'm just using this as an example. Let's say you say, I'm not going to give up smoking. But maybe the process is, I'm going to have this cigarette knowing full well that I'm smoking it because I'm mad. And I'm going to have it. But just the process of knowing that you're smoking because you're angry, that's something worth noticing. That is an accomplishment. So don't berate yourself. Do not berate yourself. Making that observation and understanding that you're smoking because you're angry and not because it's something that you are making a full and healthy conscious choice to do, you have made a manifestation. It is something worth acknowledging and worth celebrating. And maybe right now, for instance, if you look and you say, hey, maybe I do drink too much, or hey, you know what, I don't get enough exercise. Maybe all that you can do right now is just articulate those situations. If you can come up with a list of those things that you do, that you would like to change, why then you've manifested it. But here's the thing, you can't just think about it. You have to write it down. But if you can come up with a list and say, hey, you know what? I drink too much. I smoke too much. I don't get enough exercise. I eat fast food. That's enough. Maybe that's enough. That's a manifestation. Okay? You have to look at this process of establishing a healthy routine as an ongoing process that is going to keep growing. So you know what? You're not the fairy queen yet. There are a lot of benefits to being the fairy princess because she's got, you know what? Here's the thing. The fairy princess, she's got all the power and none of the responsibility of the queen. This is the time of experimentation. You will get to your queen role. You will. But you know what? Enjoy being the fairy princess. Enjoy the process of learning right now. And that's your fortune. Thank you so much, SMR, for letting me share your question here on the channel. I really hope that I've given you some things to think about. And to the rest of you out there, if you too are looking to follow a healthy routine like SMR is doing, I hope this was also helpful to you. And bright blessings and good luck to all of you on your journeys of health and happiness. And with that, have a fairyful day.